The morning sun painted the hills around Millbrook Valley in soft gold light. Hyunwoo Park stepped out of his hardware store and breathed in the clean air. 20 years ago, he had been fixing broken tanks in desert wars. Now he fixed broken lawn mowers for neighbors who brought him homemade pie as payment. He liked this life much better. His daughter, So-min, walked down the main street carrying a box of soil samples. She had just finished college and came home full of new ideas about farming. Her father watched her with pride. She moved with purpose, just like her mother had before the cancer took her away. "Dad, look at this," So-min called out, holding up a small device. "This sensor can tell farmers exactly what their soil needs. We could help everyone in the valley grow better crops." Hyunwoo smiled. His daughter always wanted to help people. That was good. The world needed more people like her. Down the street, Jin-ho Kim hammered red-hot metal in his smithy. The sound rang across the valley like a church bell. His apprentice Taehyun watched carefully as the older man shaped a horseshoe. Taehyun was quick to learn and had good hands for the work. "The metal tells you what it wants to become," Jin-ho said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "You just have to listen." Taehyun nodded. He had learned much from Jin-ho in the past 2 years. Not just about making horseshoes and tools, but about patience and pride and good work. At the medical clinic, Yoon-ji Lee finished checking on old Mrs. Peterson's blood pressure. Her assistant Bo-ram cleaned the instruments and prepared for the ER, next patient. The clinic was small but well-equipped. Yoon-ji had made sure of that when she moved to Millbrook Valley 5 years ago. "Dr. Lee, why did you leave the big city hospital?" Bo-ram asked. She was young and curious about everything. Yoon-ji looked out the window at the peaceful valley. "Sometimes the best medicine is a quiet place to heal. People here take care of each other. That matters more than fancy machines." Sheriff Dongmin Choi drove his patrol car slowly through town. He waved at people working in their gardens. Mrs. Chen called out from her porch, asking about his wife and new baby. He stopped to chat for a few minutes. This was the kind of police work he preferred. No guns, no chases, just being part of a community. At the general store, Young-soo and Hyejin counted inventory while their radio played soft music. They had run the store together for 15 years. Young-soo handled the heavy lifting while Hyejin managed the books and knew every customer's name and story. "We need more canning supplies," Hyejin said, checking her list. "People are getting ready for harvest season." Young-soo nodded and made a note to call their supplier. The store was the heart of the town in many ways. People came for supplies but stayed to talk about their lives, their worries, their joys. At the school, Ji-won finished cleaning her classroom. She taught all grades in the one-room schoolhouse. The children were good kids, eager to learn about the world beyond their valley. She made sure they understood that being from a small town did not make them small people. On his farm at the edge of town, old Seok-jin fed his chickens and studied the sky. Something felt wrong today. The animals were nervous. His old bones ached in a way that usually meant a storm was coming. But the weather forecast said clear skies all week. Seok-jin had learned to trust his instincts during the war many years ago. Those instincts had kept him alive when younger men with better training had died. Now they told him to be ready for something, though he could not say what. That evening, Young-soo closed the store and walked outside to bring in the American flag. He looked up and stopped. Strange lights moved across the sky, too fast to be airplanes, too quiet to be helicopters. "Hi, Jin, come look at this," he called to his wife. She joined him on the porch. They watched 3 bright objects move in formation across the stars. The lights pulsed with colors they had never seen before. "Should we call someone?" Hyejin asked. "Who would we call? The Air Force? They would laugh at us." But Young-soo felt uneasy. In his army days, he had learned that strange things in the sky often meant trouble on the ground. At his farm, Seok-jin watched the same lights through binoculars he had kept from his sniper days. His hands were old now, but they still held the glasses steady. What he saw made his blood turn cold. The objects were not human-made. Their shape was wrong, their movement too smooth. And they were getting lower. Seok-jin reached for his old military radio, one of several pieces of equipment he had never thrown away. Just in case, he had always told himself. Just in case. This is Seok-jin to any station. Unknown aircraft over Millbrook Valley. Request identification. Static answered him. But then, a voice he recognized. Seok-jin, this is Hyun-woo. I see them too. Rally Point Alpha in 30 minutes. Seok-jin smiled grimly. Rally Point Alpha was the old code for the hardware store. Some habits never died, even in peaceful farming towns. Across the valley, other voices joined the radio chatter. Dongmin acknowledged from his patrol car. Jin-ho responded from his smithy. Even Ji-won checked in from the school. The people of Millbrook Valley had not talked about their past lives very much. They had come here for peace and quiet. But now, as strange lights circled overhead like hunting birds, old training began to wake up in their minds. Hyun-woo locked his store and checked his inventory. In the back room behind the garden tools and paint cans, he kept other supplies. Items that most hardware stores did not stock. Items that most small towns did not need. But Millbrook Valley was not most small towns. It was home to people who had seen war and chosen peace. People who hoped they would never need their old skills again. The lights in the sky pulsed brighter. In the distance, dogs began to howl. So-min found her father loading supplies into his truck. Dad, what's happening? Hyun-woo looked at his daughter, the young woman who wanted to help the world grow better food. He hoped she would never have to learn the things he was about to remember. Go to the clinic. Help Yoonji prepare for casualties. Stay there until I come for you. Casualties? Dad, what are you talking about? The lights in the sky suddenly stopped moving. They hung in the air like angry stars, casting harsh shadows across the peaceful valley. I hope I'm wrong, Hyun-woo said quietly. But I don't think those are friendly. Visitors. As the first alien ships began to descend toward Millbrook Valley, the people who had chosen peace prepared once again for war. They did not want to fight, but they would not let anyone destroy their home. The quiet time was over. The alien energy beam missed Hyun-woo by inches, turning a water barrel into steam. He rolled behind Jin-ho's anvil and checked his weapon. The old assault rifle felt familiar in his hands, like greeting an old friend after a long absence. Commander, Zethmore advanced with his soldiers, expecting the humans to break and run. Instead, the entire town seemed to vanish. One moment there were people in the streets, the next moment the valley was empty except for alien troops. Where did they go? Demanded Lieutenant Keksaval. Before Zethmore could answer, the grain silo spoke. Seok-jin's rifle cracked again and another alien soldier dropped. The old farmer had turned the tall building into a perfect sniper's nest. Scatter and find them, Zethmore ordered. His troops spread out through the town. They entered, buildings carefully, weapons ready. But the buildings were empty. Worse, they felt like traps waiting to spring. Alien soldier Nethka pushed open the door to the general store. Shelves lined the walls full of normal human goods. Canned food, fishing equipment, work clothes. Nothing dangerous. Then the floor exploded. Young-soo had rigged the floorboards with charges made from mining supplies. Nethka fell through into the basement, where Hee-jin waited with a shotgun and a very unfriendly expression. "Welcome to Millbrook Valley," she said, and pulled the trigger. At the smithy, two aliens crept toward the back door. They could hear movement inside. Jin-ho was still working even during an invasion. The sound of hammer on metal continued steadily. They burst through the door expecting to find a frightened blacksmith. Instead, they found Tae-hyun with a weapon that looked like a farm tool but swung like a war hammer. Jin-ho had taught him well. Metal was metal, whether shaped into horseshoes or alien skulls. The smithy also contained surprises. Jin-ho had been making more than farming tools in his spare time. His basement workshop held enough weapons to arm a small militia, all perfectly legal for rural areas, all perfectly deadly for unwanted visitors. Yoonji and Boram had turned the medical clinic into a fortress. They treated wounded townspeople between firefights, their hands steady from years of emergency medicine. But they had also prepared special surprises for alien visitors. When alien soldiers tried to storm the clinic, They discovered that the good doctor had booby-trapped her own building. Medical gas canisters released sleeping drugs into the air vents. The aliens dropped unconscious before they could fire a shot. First rule of medicine, Yunji told Boram as they dragged the sleeping aliens into a storage closet. Do no harm to your patients. Everyone else is fair game. Dongmin used his knowledge of every road and path in the valley to appear behind enemy positions like a ghost. His police training had taught him to think like a criminal. His army training had taught him to fight like a soldier. The combination made him very dangerous to invaders who did not know the ground. So Min had initially hidden at the clinic as her father ordered, but when she saw alien soldiers threatening Ji-won at the school, she could not stay hidden. She took her father's old military radio and started coordinating the defense. Eagle 1, 2 hostiles moving toward the school, she reported in clear, calm tones. Copy Bird's Nest, came Seok Jin's voice from the grain silo. I have eyes on them. 2 shots rang out. The aliens fell. Targets down, Seok Jin reported. Area clear. So-min felt sick for a moment. She had just helped kill living beings, but they had come to her home with weapons and threats. Her father had taught her that sometimes good people had to do hard things to protect what mattered. Zethmore found himself fighting an enemy he could not see or predict. The humans used the town itself as a weapon. Every building was a potential ambush. Every piece of farming equipment might explode or transform into something deadly. His advanced scanners could not track enemies who knew every tunnel, cave, and hiding spot in the area. His superior weapons meant nothing against foes who struck and vanished like smoke. Status report, he commanded through his communication device. Sir, we have lost contact with Teams 3 and 5, came the reply. Team 2 is trapped in some kind of underground tunnel system. Team 4 reports they are being hunted by an invisible sniper. Zethmore looked around the empty town square. Somewhere in the buildings around him, primitive humans with crude weapons were defeating his elite soldiers. It was impossible. But it was happening. A new voice crackled over his captured human radio. Attention alien forces, this is Sheriff Dongmin Choi. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now and we will treat you fairly under the rules of war. Zethmore almost laughed. Outgunned? By farmers? Then he heard the sound. Vehicles approaching from multiple directions. Not just cars, but large machines. Heavy equipment. The farmers were coming back, and they were bringing their tractors. The sound of heavy machinery filled the valley. But these were not ordinary farm vehicles anymore. Jinho and Taihyun had worked through the night, welding armor plates onto tractors and combines. Steel shields protected the drivers. Weapons, mounted where seed spreaders used to be. Farmer Wu Jin drove his modified combine harvester straight toward an alien patrol. The huge machine rolled over their energy barriers like they were made of paper. Alien soldiers scattered, their advanced technology useless against 20 tons of armored farming equipment. Harvest time, Wu Jin said into his radio and laughed. Behind him 3 more armored tractors followed. Their drivers were farmers who had learned to operate tanks in distant wars. The vehicles moved with military precision, not random farm work. Zethmore watched in disbelief as his elite soldiers ran from agricultural machinery. This was not how conquests were supposed to work. Primitive species should cower before superior technology, not turn their farming tools into weapons of war. Sir, his communications officer called urgently. We are receiving multiple signals from the surrounding area. There are more human settlements than our scans detected. How many more? At least 20 farms within 50 kilometers. All are responding to radio calls from this location. They appear to be coordinating a unified defense. Zethmore felt cold dread creep into his mind. This was not one isolated settlement. This was a network of connected communities, all populated by former soldiers who had chosen farming life. At the medical clinic, Yunji made a discovery that changed everything. One of the unconscious alien soldiers was badly wounded. As she treated him, she noticed something strange about their armor. It was incredibly advanced, but had one critical flaw. The life support systems that kept the aliens breathing Earth's atmosphere had a weakness. A specific frequency of sound could disrupt the filters. Without their suits, the aliens could not survive more than a few minutes in Earth's air. Boram, find me the frequency generator from the old physical therapy equipment, Yunji ordered. What are you thinking, Doctor? I'm thinking these invaders picked the wrong planet to breathe. Meanwhile, Somin had moved beyond coordinating radio traffic. She studied soil maps of the valley and made a crucial realization. The aliens had landed their ships in the worst possible location, soft ground that would turn to mud with just a little water. She contacted the irrigation crews. This is Somin Park. I need you to open valves 7, 12, and 18. Full flow to Sector 9. Copy that, Miss Park. Opening irrigation now. Water began to flow into the fields around the alien landing site. The alien ships, designed for solid ground or metal platforms, began to sink slowly into the softening earth. Seth Moore noticed the problem too late. All units, return to ships immediately. We are relocating. But his soldiers were scattered across the valley, hunted by humans who knew every rock and tree. 3 teams had gone silent completely. 2 more were trapped in underground tunnels that appeared on no orbital scan. Seok Jin had been busy in his grain silo. His old sniper rifle was effective, but he wanted something with more impact. From his farming supplies, he built devices that his military manual had called improvised explosive projectiles. Others might call them pipe bombs filled with fertilizer. His first shot hit an alien ship's engine. The explosion lit up the valley like a second sunrise. The ship tilted sideways and crashed into what used to be the post office. Still got it, Seokjin muttered, already lining up his next shot. Jiwon had evacuated the school children to the old mine shafts, but she did not stay hidden. Her teaching degree had come after her military service as a communications specialist. She took control of the town's emergency broadcast system and started sending tactical information to nearby communities. All stations, this is Millbrook Valley. Hostile forces present. Enemy armor weak to sonic disruption. Repeat. Sonic disruption effective against enemy equipment. Her broadcast reached other towns, other veterans who had chosen peaceful lives. They began to mobilize, bringing hunting rifles and old military equipment out of storage. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that grew stronger as the battle continued. Every defeated patrol meant captured weapons and technology for the humans. Every alien ship destroyed provided materials for new traps and weapons. Dongmin coordinated the ground defense like the special forces officer he used to be. His small-town sheriff act disappeared, replaced by cold military precision. He moved his people like pieces on a chessboard, always staying one step ahead of alien tactics. Team Alpha, flank left through the corn maze. Team Bravo, hold position at the grain elevator. Team Charlie, prepare for extraction at point 7. The corn maze proved especially effective. The aliens' thermal scanners could not track humans through the thick stalks. Farmers who had walked those paths for years moved like ghosts, striking and vanishing before the aliens could respond. Youngsu and Hyejin had armed themselves with weapons from Jinho's secret armory. They fought side by side, protecting their store and everything they had built together. When aliens tried to use the store as a command post, they found it rigged with enough explosives to level a city block. 20 years we've run this store, Hyejin said, reloading her rifle. No one gets to wreck it now. As the sun reached its peak, Zethmore realized he was losing. Half his forces were dead or missing. His ships were stuck in mud or damaged beyond repair. The primitive humans had turned their entire valley into a death trap. But the worst part was the humans themselves. They fought with skill and courage, but also with something the aliens had not expected. They showed mercy to wounded enemies. They followed rules of war even when no one forced them to. Boram treated injured alien soldiers with the same care she gave to humans. When alien soldier Kenthka asked why, she simply said, "Because you're hurt and I'm a healer. That's all that matters right now." This confused the aliens more than any weapon. Their species conquered through fear and cruelty. They did not understand enemies who showed kindness to the defeated. Zethmore activated his emergency beacon. Reinforcements would come with heavier weapons and more soldiers, but as he looked around the burning town square, he wondered if even that would be enough. The humans had stopped talking. They moved with grim purpose now, like predators who had decided their prey was too dangerous to play with anymore. The real battle was about to begin. Dr. Yunji worked frantically in her makeshift laboratory, which used to be the town's community center. She had studied the captured alien technology all night, with Boram helping her understand the complex systems. The frequency is 847.3 Hertz, Yunji announced over the radio. That exact sound will disrupt their life support systems. How do we generate that frequency? Yunwu asked from his position near the alien landing zone. The church organ, Jiwan replied immediately. I can modify it to produce the right tone, but I need 10 minutes and someone to protect the church. You've got it, Dongmin responded. All teams, priority protection for the church. Miss Jiwan is about to give us a big advantage. While Jiwan worked on the organ, the battle raged. Around her, Taehyun and 2 other young farmers held the church grounds against alien soldiers who seemed desperate to stop whatever the humans were planning. The aliens had good reason to be worried. Their entire invasion force depended on life support technology that had never been tested against sonic weapons. They had conquered 12 species, but none had discovered this weakness. So-min coordinated the final phase of the irrigation plan from the water treatment plant. The alien landing zone was now completely flooded. Their ship sat in 3 feet of muddy water, engines damaged and unable to lift off. Dad, their ships are stuck, she reported. They can't leave even if they wanted to. Good work, sweetheart. Now get to the church. We're going to end this. Seokjin had moved from the grain silo to the bell tower, giving him an even better view of the battlefield. His rifle cracked steadily, each shot carefully planned. He had learned patience during his sniper training decades ago. Patience and precision won wars. From his new position, he could see alien reinforcement ships circling the valley, afraid to land in the muddy trap that had caught the first wave. But they were also afraid to leave their ground forces behind. Youngsu and Hyejin had turned their store into a communications hub, coordinating with other towns across the region. The response amazed even them. Veterans from 3 counties were driving toward Millbrook Valley with weapons and equipment. Honey, look at this, Hyejin said, showing her husband the radio messages. Retired Marines from Cedar Falls, ex-Air Force from Mountain View, even some old Navy guys from Riverside. Seems like we're not the only ones who kept our old gear, Youngsu replied. The message was spreading across the rural communication networks. Alien invaders had attacked American soil. Former soldiers who had chosen peaceful lives were choosing war once more. Inside the church, Jiwan finished her modifications to the pipe organ. The ancient instrument could now produce sounds that would kill alien invaders. She tested it once, briefly. The tone was barely audible to human ears but seemed to make the air itself shiver. This is G1, sonic weapon ready. All human personnel, protect your hearing and prepare for final assault. Yethmar received the evacuation order from his fleet, commander, but he could not comply. His ships were trapped in the mud. His soldiers scattered and hunted. He had lost contact with most of his force. Human defenders. He broadcast on all frequencies. We will withdraw if you allow us to recover. Our personnel, Hyunwoo's voice answered him. You came to our home with weapons and threats. You destroyed our property and threatened our families. Why should we let you leave? Because we acknowledge defeat. Your species fights with honor. We request the same consideration. There was silence on the radio for long minutes. Then Dongmin's voice, calm and professional. Alien forces, this is Sheriff Choi. You have 1 hour to collect your wounded and non-combatants. After that, anyone still armed on our soil will be considered hostile. You would show mercy to invaders? We show mercy to defeated enemies who surrender properly. That's what separates us from conquerors. But Yethmar had one final card to play. His flagship carried planetary bombardment weapons. If he could not conquer this valley, he would destroy it completely. The humans detected the ship's weapons charging. Energy readings spiked as the aliens prepared to turn Millbrook Valley into a crater. All stations, this is Hyunwoo. Execute Operation Thunderclap now. Jiwon pressed the church organ keys with both hands. The modified instrument sent 847.3 Hz sound waves across the entire valley. Every alien life support system failed simultaneously. Alien. Soldiers collapsed, gasping for air their lungs could not process. Their ship's life support system shut down. Even the flagship high above the valley found its crew struggling to breathe. But the humans had planned for mercy, even in victory. Yunji and her medical teams moved through the valley with breathing masks designed for alien biology. They saved every enemy soldier they could reach. Why? Gasped alien soldier Venthka as Boram fitted him with a breathing device. Because the fighting is over, Boram replied simply. Now comes the healing. Yethmar landed his flagship in the muddy field, his crew too weak to continue fighting. As he emerged from his ship, he saw humans providing medical care to his defeated soldiers. Hyunwoo walked up to him, still carrying his coffee cup from that morning. It seemed like years ago now. Commander, your war is over. Our mercy begins, now. But if you ever come back with weapons, mercy won't be on the menu. Yethmar looked around the valley. Human and alien wounded lay side by side in the medical station. Farmers who had fought like demons now worked to save their enemies' lives. How? He asked. How did you defeat us so completely? Hyunwoo sipped his coffee and looked at the valley where he had chosen to make his home. You thought we were just farmers. You were wrong. We're humans who chose to farm. Big difference. The alien invasion of Millbrook Valley was over, but the galaxy's education about humanity had just begun. 3 months after the invasion, Millbrook Valley looked almost normal again. The post office had been rebuilt, stronger than before. The welcome sign was back up, though now it included a small plaque that read, Home of the Rural Defense Coalition. Hyunwoo stood in his hardware store, watching his daughter teach a class of visitors. The students were not human. 3 young Vextari sat carefully on human-sized chairs, taking notes as Somin explained sustainable farming techniques. The key is working with the soil, not against it, Somin was saying. Earth's ecosystem is very complex. You have to understand it before you can grow anything successfully. The young aliens nodded eagerly. They were part of a new generation of Vextari who wanted to learn from humans instead of conquering them. The war had changed many minds in the alien empire. Former Commander Yethmar worked in Jinho's smithy now, learning human metalworking techniques. His people had forgotten how to make things by hand, relying too much on automated systems. The blacksmith was teaching him that some skills required more than technology. Feel the metal, Jinho instructed, guiding Yethmar's hands on the hammer. It tells you when it's ready to bend. Taehyun watched the lesson with amusement. 6 months ago, this alien had been trying to kill them all. Now he was learning to make horseshoes and seemed genuinely happy about it. The transformation amazed everyone. Yethmar had requested to stay on Earth after the peace agreement. He wanted to understand how humans built communities that were worth fighting for. His own people had technology, but had lost the ability to create homes. At the medical clinic, Yunji reviewed reports from the Galactic Health Council. Her discovery about Vextari biology had led to new treatments for both species. Boram had become famous throughout the galaxy as the human who had saved more alien lives than any other being. Doctor, we have 3 more requests for medical exchange students, Boram said, reading through applications. They want to learn human healing techniques. Human healing techniques, Yunji laughed. They mean compassion. We're teaching aliens how to care about their patients. The medical breakthrough had been bigger than anyone expected. Human medicine focused on healing the whole person, not just fixing broken parts. This approach revolutionized alien healthcare and earned humanity respect throughout the galaxy. Sheriff Dongmin drove his patrol route through the valley, but his job had become much more interesting. The town now hosted diplomatic visitors from 6 different species. His police training had expanded to include alien law and interspecies relations. He stopped at the memorial garden that Seokjin had planted. The old sniper tended the flowers, himself, creating a peaceful space to remember both human and alien soldiers who had died in the battle. Any regrets about not killing more of them? Dongmin asked. Seokjin continued watering his roses. Killing is easy. Building something after the killing stops, that's the hard part. These flowers are harder work than any war I ever fought. The memorial had become a pilgrimage site for young Vextari who wanted to understand human warfare. They came expecting to see monuments to violence and domination. Instead, they found a garden that honored all the dead equally. Young-Su and Hyejin's store had become the unofficial embassy for the growing human-alien trade relationship. Their experience managing inventory and customer relations translated perfectly to interspecies commerce. The Zenthari want to trade their crystal, technology for human agricultural knowledge, Hyejin told her husband. They say our farming methods could help them feed their entire population. Good trade, Young-Su agreed. Food is worth more than fancy crystals any day. Their store now sold goods from 12 different planets, but they kept the same friendly service that had made it the heart of Millbrook Valley. Jiwan had perhaps the most important job of all. She now taught human children alongside young aliens, showing them how different species could live and learn together. Her classroom had become a model for integration schools across the galaxy. Miss Jiwan, why did the humans show mercy after winning the war? Asked a young Vextari student named Kethna. Because winning a war is not the same as building peace, Jiwan replied. Any species can destroy. Only wise species can create. The question everyone asked was how such a small town had defeated an advanced alien empire. The answer was complex, but Hyunwoo tried to explain it to visitors who came seeking the secret of human strength. We were not stronger or smarter than them, he would say, but we had something to protect that was worth more than our lives. When you fight for your home, your family, your community, you find strength you didn't know you had. The Vextari had learned this lesson the hard way. Their empire was powerful but had no soul. They conquered planets but never created homes. They had technology but had forgotten wisdom. The peace treaty had been unusual. Instead of demanding tribute or territory, the humans had asked for teachers and students. They wanted to share knowledge, not claim dominance. As autumn came to Millbrook Valley, Somin walked through fields where human and alien crops grew side by side. The Vextari plants were beautiful but fragile. They needed human farming techniques to survive in Earth's challenging environment. Her father joined her among the crops carrying 2 cups of coffee. They sat on a fence post and watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors. Do you think they'll come back to fight? Somin asked. Hyunwoo considered the question. Some might, but most have learned what we tried to teach them. Peace is better than war. Building is better than destroying. Home is worth more than empire. In the distance, Yethmar worked late in the smithy, learning to create instead of destroy. Former enemies had become friends, and some had become family. The town had grown, but it had not lost its heart. As the stars came out, Seokjin climbed to his old position in the grain silo, but instead of a rifle, he carried a telescope. He watched the peaceful night sky and smiled. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their violence. It was their ability to turn enemies into neighbors and battlefields into gardens. Millbrook Valley had won more than a war. They had won the future. The alien invasion had ended not with conquest, but with the most human outcome of all. Everyone sitting down together to share a meal and plan tomorrow's work. In a universe full of empires and domination, one small, farming town had shown a different way to live, and the galaxy was watching and learning and slowly changing because of it.